We are Team B and we will introduce three topics about the United Nations, World Food Project, and the UN Women. Let's get started with the topic What is UN?
We will introduce in the theme of what is UN. This is our team agenda. Let's check these items one by one. Firstly, what does the UN stand for? The answer is the United Nations.
The idea of building up the United Nations was generated during the World War II. The leaders cooperating each other in order to end the war believes that a structure should be created to keep peace and avoid any wars in the future. They realized that if every country take actions through an international organization, it could be achieved, and that's how the United Nations was founded. More interestingly, the name United Nations was coined by the President of the United States at the time, Franklin Roosevelt. This slide shows when and which country became a member of the United Nations. Japan is the 80th country which became a member state. More recently, South Sudan became a member of the United Nations. The United Nations work with five main purposes: maintain international peace and security, promote human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, promote sustainable development, and uphold international law. The UN can take action on the issues confronting humanity in the 21st century, such as food production, terrorism, gender equality, and more. The United Nations is not an international government. It's not even a representative of any country, any government, or any citizens. The UN can only work on the things that member states agreed or decided to do. There are 6 official languages of the United Nations. These are Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. The correct interpretation and translation of these 6 languages in both spoken and written form is very important to work of the United Nations organizations, because this enables clear and concise communication on issues of global importance. Here's the rules in the United Nations, which is called Charter of the United Nations. It includes rights and duties of each member states and what should be done to achieve the goals. The 2020 edition of the UN Card brings an update to these 11 actions of the United Nations that show in qualifiable terms how the daily work of the United Nations and its agencies affects the lives of people around the globe. Those reflects the fact and figures with UN agencies designing new graphics and adding new key achievements.
This is UN logo, which features a world map wrapped in an olive leaf, a symbol as it carries out its work on the world stage. It is also an aspirational symbol, for they speak to the hopes and dreams of people the world over for peace and unity. This was created by design team in 1945 and approved in 1946.
The United Nations has 6 parts of organs. The all organs were established in 1945 when the UN was founded. No one can be lacking to support the functionality of the United Nations.
The work of the UN is global, touching the lives of billions of people. The work of the organization is, however, mostly done locally, within regions and countries. In order to accomplish this, the UN and the many entities comprising the UN system have created a presence in every region of the world, so the people most in need of help can be reached quickly. There are 10 main countries of the UN work. The headquarters is in New York.
Secretary General is the leader of Security Council. Antonio Guterres is the ninth Secretary General of the United Nations. The position of Secretary General is one of the great importance that requires the highest standards of efficiency, competence, and integrity, and a firm commitment to the purpose and the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. This is one of the example daily schedule of Secretary General. The date is September 25th in 2019, 8 a.m. Secretary General to deliver remarks for the cooperation between the United Nations and the regional and sub-regional organizations in maintaining international peace and security. On this day, he met 20 countries' prime minister or president.
The countries that are members of the UN pay for all UN activities. The UN use only those funds. Member states pay according to an agreed-upon scales of assessment. This scale is based on a country's ability to pay, national income, and population size. The top contributing countries are United States, Japan, China, and Germany.
We hope you guys learned more about the United Nations today.
If you are interested in, please click here for more info.
Next team will introduce about WFP.
Thank you for introducing our team. So, have you ever heard the World Food Program, WFP? This is one of the most important organizations in the world. Now, we are going to talk about the World Food Program. The World Food Program is the food assistance branch of the United Nations. It was founded in 1961. The WFP is headquartered in Rome and has offices in 80 countries. The WFP is the leading humanitarian organization saving lives and changing lives, delivering food assistance in emergencies and working with communities to improve nutrition and build resilience. So now I'm going to show one example of the contribution of WFP. The World Food Programme is the largest provider of school meals. The WFP provides 39 million children in 65 countries. School meals not only improve the nutritional status and health of these children, but also improve attendance and performance.
Next, I want to talk to you about the connection and contribution of WFP with SDGs. WFP supports National Zero Hunger Strategic Reviews (ZHSR). It is carried out under the leadership of governments and their partners to establish a hunger baseline to determine gaps in the national food security and nutrition response and identify priority actions needed to achieve SDG2. So ZHSR process contributes a multi-sectoral approach to food security and nutrition. It provides a strong foundation for discussions on SDG2, and it leads to integrated approaches that support governments to achieve all 17 SDGs. This is the WFP's activity for SDGs.
As a conclusion, WFP supports countries in ensuring no one is left behind by continuing to build resilience for food security and nutrition and addressing the growing challenge posed by climate change and rising inequality. Also, understanding WFP connects more information about MUN Project and SDGs. WFP is necessary for the world to support poverty situation. Thank you for listening. So now I'm introducing the next team. They are going to explain about UN Women. Please, next team.
Last, we will talk about UN Women. Gender equality has become a heavy problem all over the world. For example, women lack access to decent work and face occupational segregation and gender wage gaps. Also, women suffer from violence and discrimination. UN Women is the United Nations entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women. UN Women supports UN member states as they set global standards for achieving gender equality. They work with governments and civil society to design laws, policies, programs, and services needed to ensure that the standards are effectively implemented and truly benefit women and girls worldwide. It works globally to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, a reality for women and girls.
The United Nations faced serious challenges for many years in its effort to promote gender equality, and then in July 2010, the United Nations General Assembly created UN Women to promote gender equality not just as inalienable human rights, but as a strong and resonant voice for women and girls at the local, regional, and global levels, and stand behind women's equal participation in all aspects of life. Also, in 2012, UN Women became the 11th co-sponsor of UNAIDS, that is important women toward ensuring the gender equality. UN Women will support efforts to integrate gender equality and gender-based violence and enable a national AIDS strategy to address their rights and needs in the context of HIV.
Thank you, Naho, for showing us the history of United Nations Women. Then I'm going to talk about some recent event which is held by United Nations Women. First, a conference hosted by Asian Pacific United Nations to confirm the importance of gender equality. So over 500 ministers and United Nations officials from across Asia and the Pacific region gathered in Thai in 2019 to support to keep taking process on gender equality and women's empowerment. As we all know, developing countries are always facing serious gender issues. However, there still is 1/4 of men in the Middle East and North Africa who support gender equality. So United Nations Women is trying to give a correct understanding and high quality education to developing countries' people so they can realize the meaning of gender equality. Lastly, gender discrimination is not only happening on unequal employment but also on violence. So 1 in 3 women worldwide experience physical or sexual violence, mostly by a deep relationship partner like boyfriend or husband. In order to end violence against women, the United Nations Women sending a lot of organizations all over the world to solve this problem, and going to suggest countries, government to pass the laws that protecting women from violence. As a conclusion, United Nations Women is an official organization which supports United Nations member states as they set global standards for achieving gender equality. Also, from the United Nations Women established, they had attacked for women on lots of sides, fell employment, fair working chance, violence against, and so on. So developed countries, and even single people need to realize the importance of gender equality. A sustainable, fair, and reasonable society makes life better. So United Nations Women will try their best to work with the government to design laws for helping and protecting women's rights. First, I want to say thank you for your attention to listen our presentation. And our team introduced the three parts of United Nations, and the first is United Nations history, and the second is World Food Program, which is solves the food issue in the world. And the last one is United Nations Women, which is focusing on gender equality and gender employment issue